How you doing, YouTube? Matt Massa Beer Reviews back with a little bit of a live review. Yeah, wasn't planning on doing anything live today, just because I didn't plan anything. I was going to sit around, I was going to clean, kind of prep for a 2-week long hiatus of beer debauchery and wife. What's the word I'm looking for? Wife spoiling. I'm off for a couple weeks. I don't go back to work until early January, so I'm off for a couple weeks, and it's going to be a lot of baby prep, getting baby stuff ready for the baby coming in March, and just hanging out, doing beer stuff, and just doing whatever. But today was slated for errands and chores and shit, and I was a monster. I did a bunch of stuff today, so I kind of wanted to do a live review, and I figured why not break out little bit of aged beer. Aged beer is my favorite beer for a couple of different reasons, but more specifically, specific beers are my favorite when they're aged. And this be one of them. This is Wells & Young's version of Courage Imperial Russian Stout. I have a long storied history with this beer. It is one of my favorite beers of all time. It is pretty much what I would say it's what I would call the seminal Russian Imperial Stout, but it's not me. It's the original, the OG Imperial Russian Stout. And it's one of the beers I reviewed early on my YouTube channel. It's about 6 years ago. It was like in the 70s. I actually have it in front of me. 25. The 25th beer I reviewed on my channel. I thought it was in the 70s. Oh, that's the other one. Never mind. We'll get to that in a second. But it was 25, review number 25, and it was this vintage. So this is the 2012 version that I reviewed in 2014. So at that time, it was 2 years old. Now we're obviously talking about 8 years old. And a couple years later, about 2 years later, I reviewed the 2013 version of this beer. These come in like this by me. I don't know how it rolls for you guys out there in the beer world, but this beer comes in kind of gift packs. You basically get two vintages, almost everyone I've ever seen has always been 2013, 2012. And then you get a proper glassware, which we'll be using today. And yeah, it's not focusing. Maybe let me do this, see if I can get the focusing working. Oh, there we go. See, I can't believe I got it to work. So you get this nice kind of, proper glassware along with the beer in a gift pack. And I can see them every now and then. I don't pick them up a ton, but it's Christmas time. This is kind of a Christmassy beer for me. And by that, I mean, it's an opulent beer. It's a beer I typically like to kind of grab when it's in and around the Christmas season. So I picked one up. I actually picked this up off the shelf yesterday. I think I want to say I paid $14.99 for this. Two of these beers in a glass, $14.99. What are you going to do? I already have several of these glasses. So Keith, my buddy 93 Lumber, if you don't know who he is, go check him out. I gave him the other glass. I didn't give him any beer. Well, I gave him a bunch of beer, just not any of these because I want to drink them. So yeah, let's talk about this beer in general. Up top, we have Courage Imperial Russian Stout. Enjoy a rich espresso body with a pear overtones. They've always called this pear overtone out on this. I wouldn't say I agree with that. We'll allow it. An intriguing, fresh, smoky, fruity finish. This is a 2012 vintage. They actually say on here it is. I assume this is a best by date. It's the 16th day of the 8th month, so it's August of 2025. So they're giving this beer a definite hefty amount of time. Oh no, they do. They call it, don't they do? I thought they did 13 years. This will develop for up to 13 years. Yeah, it actually says down here, brewed to perfection only once a year. Enjoy now or allowed to mature for up to 13 years. So you're talking about 2012 vintage. Kind of makes sense. 2025. So we know this beer was actually brewed in August, which is nice. Originally brewed in 1795 for Catherine the Great of Russia, hence the OG status of the beer. And 10% alcohol by volume. This is number for those keeping score at home. That would be 110,097 bottle of this batch, or I don't know of all time. I don't know how they score that. And that'd be that. Yeah, 9.3 fluid ounces. I think the OGs that I really fell in love with back in the day, the Wells & Young days, I believe. I think they were like 8 ounces or even like 7.3 ounces or something like that. They're a black label. The labels changed over time. But yeah, just dive into it. So let's just cut to the chase. Actually get this showing the road. Move this shit out of the way here. And we'll see what's what. Give me a little battle axe, kind of appropriate. Why? I don't know. Ooh. I hope you guys heard that. There was a hiss there, so yeah. Why am I? Let's just do this. Give it a rough pour. See if we can get a little bit of head on it. Okay. Look at that. A little bit of carbonation. I had a nice hiss going on it. So it wasn't like a dead beer completely. But yeah, I mean, that looks pretty, you know, nice khaki color, just north of khaki color, getting a malt ball colored head. You guys can see a reflection, so you can get to see my whole beer room over there, which is nice. Yeah, it just looks the part of a nice, rich kind of stout. Now, Russian Imperial stouts, I shouldn't have poured the whole thing in a goddamn glass. I always do that. It's going to be a hard time getting a nose now, but Russian Imperial stouts, what do we expect when we dive into it? There's a bittering typically associated Russian Imperial stouts. That's common. Not nearly as aggressive as the American counterparts typically have. I mean, I am a broken record when it comes to this, but you know, the most popular Russian Imperial stout in the United States is Old Rasputin from North Coast. I love me some North Coast. There's a bunch of North Coast bottles up there because of how much I like North Coast Old Stock. That beer I do not like. It is so aggressively bittering that I view it as just like a Cascadian dark ale, like a triple. You know, have triple IPAs, triple Cascadian dark ale. That's kind of how I view it. So that's a little bit too bittering for me. On the flip side of that, my favorite Russian Imperial Stout. I mean, this is kind of the OG for me, so there's a soft place in my heart for it. But the best of the best for me is Struce. The Struce Brewing, they do their Black Albert. Oddly enough, it is a beer brewed for a beer bar in Maine called Ebenezer's. But that beer is epically fantastic. By far and away, one of the best beers in the world, let alone Russian Imperial Stouts. So this is going to be a little bit less bittering than that. I mean, with the time on it, who knows? But a little less bittering than that Struce. I believe that gets up into the 13% range. I could be wrong on that, but I think I'm right. And it's going to be way less bittering, even without the years on it. Going to be way less bittering than that than the old Rasputin. So yeah. Anyway, little comment. We got a Hatchet Malashy coming in. The king of beer reviews, us peons bed down here behind us. He's joking about a joke video I posted last night. A good friend of mine joined kind of BeerTube doing beer videos. And we did this fake kind of back and forth thing where we're kind of like, he called me out for being an asshole and then I just called him out for being a piece of shit, but we did it on purpose. But I guess maybe we acted too well because people thought we were being serious. So I did a live video this morning, drank some coffee, hung out, and kind of explained that we're just kind of having fun with everybody and stuff like that. So I called that. I called him. I'm like, you know, if you want to mess with the royalty or some shit, I don't know what I fucking said. I was just trying to be as big an asshole as I possibly can, and it worked. So yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it. So yeah, let's actually get a little whiffy poo on this sucker. Now, I'm not getting a big nose on this. I'm getting roasted malts. I'm getting a little chocolate. I'm getting a little bit of sweetness. I'm definitely getting a bittering on there. It's more of a roasted malt bittering for me. I think my nose post-COVID is playing me a little bit dirty. I've noticed my smell comes and goes. So I don't know if it's 100%, but there's not a huge nose on it for me. Yeah, but it smells nice. That roasted malt's nice. A nice bittering on it. The chocolate shows in multiple levels. But you have to keep in mind it's also, you know, a 6-year-old beer, so or 8-year-old beer. Sorry. So it smells nice. It smells pretty, but not nearly as impactful as you'd think from a 10% beer. Kyle Johnson, another friend of the channel, saying, what's that black stand meant for? This black stand is meant for, this is a, what do they call that? A shroud for a lamp. Like the bulb comes through here and then the bulb's in there. But I took that off because I used the lamp for something else. So I thought it would be a nice pedestal for putting beer and stuff on so you can see. That's where the hole goes. That's where the bulb goes. So yeah. Anyway. We make do with what we got, brother. Upcycle it. So yeah, it smells nice. Let's actually just dive in. Cheers. That's more bitter than I thought it was going to be, but it's delicious. I mean, there's even a bit of like a not a hotness, but more of an evaporative kind of alcohol component to it. more than I thought it would be, especially with the time. We figured that would have rounded out by now, but it's still kind of there. So it has a bit of heft to it, a heft bigger than what you'd expect, especially from a 10% 8-year-old beer. It drinks kind of with the way that kind of evaporative alcohol comes off. And like I said, I want to reiterate, it's not a heat kind of punch to the back of your throat. It's more of this evaporative thing going on. It drinks more like a 13% fresh beer than an 8-year-old 10% beer. So that is probably the biggest trick it's pulling off right now. The second one is the amount of bittering left over. It's not like essentially the best or the most aggressively bittering Russian Imperial Stout, like I said before, but the bittering is definitely holding up in here. I think that has a lot to do with the way the roasted malts work on this, because I think there's a combination of roasted malts and hops kind of adding a bitterness to this beer. And obviously those roasted malt bitterness is not going to drop off nearly as quickly as the hop version, or the hops in the beer. So that's why I think it's kind of keeping a decent fucking bittering to it. Rory chiming in saying, hello fellow gooey. Rory means gooner, because he is an Arsenal fan. So, and it is probably 2 a.m, so Rory's probably feeling no pain right now. So I understand the typo. Cheers, brother. That's good. I mean, as far as classic beers go, man, I mean, mouthfeel's beautiful. It's not going to be confused with these 5C thick, huge, dense, over the top beers that you see from a lot of breweries nowadays. It's a core 4 beer. There's no kind of, fuckduckery going around with it. Core 4 to the dome, fucking beautifully made, 0 flaws. And honestly, the lack of oxidation on this is nice. Like I said, I get a nice hiss pop off of it. There's a little bit of paperyness to it, but I think that's kind of accentuates the beer quite nicely. And just that baker's chocolate elevating into a little bit of kind of semi-sweet bittering chocolate. You get this little subtle hint of a very, very subtle kind of coffee vibe from it, but nothing that big. The bittering is still sturdy and still there, while not overpowering and a leader in the clubhouse as far as flavor goes. I think that kind of chocolate malt really is now kind of driving the car here. It's still present and still meaningful, so it still kind of lives in that kind of Russian Imperial Stout world, the one that I love, not the one that the old Rasputin lives in. And just a really tasty, well done beer. This for me is Christmas beer. Sure, there's no Christmassy stuff on this label, but some beers don't have Christmas stuff on them, and they just are Christmas beers for me. This is one of them, the Guten Carlos Cuvée van de Kaiser Blau. This is Christmas beer for me. Even Guten Carlos makes a Noel, but that's more of a Christmas beer for me. There's a lot of beers that I really lean into when it comes to the Christmas time. And Kirch Imperial Russian Stout is one of them. And I think that's for good reason, because, not that you can't drink these any time of the year. I definitely drink stouts in the summer, and I drink, Pilsner in the winter. But I do like to lean a little bit heavy in the darker stuff come wintertime. Just a little bit easier, a little bit more comforting. And then that in combination with the pomp and circumstance around this beer, the gift pack, the glass, the kind of regalness of the beer itself. For me, it just kind of comes off as something that is rich and decadent, and more of a treat, more of a present to yourself during this time of year, as opposed to other times. And it is honestly just makes me remember, makes me believe in beer again. Makes me remember where beer was when I originally got into beer. Not to be that old curmudgeon-y guy that's like, back in my day, but it's like, when I got into beer, the adjunct laden crazy weirdness just didn't really exist. Sure, there was always some people doing stuff. They were called Dogfish Head. But even barrel aging was few and far between for a lot of breweries back in the late 90s and early 2000s. So, getting something like this, which is, exotic, Russian beer, Russian Imperial or Imperial Russian Stout, brewed in England, here over in the United States. And there's something about it just made me kind of happy. And it helps that the beer is fucking fantastic too, and just really kind of cut my teeth. I've told this story before. If you watch the other videos I did on this beer previously, you'll know this, but I can't help but tell the story. Is that this beer had this kind of connotation of elitism to me, and by that it meant like when I got into beer and like right around like 98 is like really when I got into beer. There was a good beer bar by me that had a bunch of amazing beers. Like if their cellar popped up in a tap room today, like all the fucking white collar fucking razzle trader crazy people would show up there. You know, this is Thomas Hardy's, Out the Wazoo, J.W. Lee's, all the old school fucking hits. You know, but I would go in there, you know, and I would drink, whatever. I would drink even in West Fiedelin's on there. They were $8. You can get a West Fiedelin, $8, 12 ounce. Awesome. You go in there and get a Thomas Hardy, $8. Awesome. You go in there, you get some of the old school American classics that were pretty damn fantastic. The Bigfoots of the world. Those kind of beers, you're talking $4 or $5. The Russian Imperial Stout, or the Courage Imperial Russian Stouts, I believe there are 8-ounce bottles or 7-ounce bottles. It might even be 6-ounce bottles. I forget. They were very, very tiny. And I think they were like, at this bar, they were just expensive. They were like twice, 2 to 3 times more expensive than most beers. So you're talking about $15, give or take. And I'm poor. I'm a poor guy who's getting into craft beer. It's the worst mixture in the history of mankind, especially even back then, when beer was kind of technically and relationshipy, kind of cheaper than it was today, than it is today. I would always look at it and be like, I would like to have that beer, but I don't want to order it. It's like fucking way too expensive. That went on for a long time, like a year, and it would sit there for a year and it would just stare at it. Like at the bar I used to go to, it would be, they had coolers lined up of all their beers right on the other side of where you sat. So you get to kind of peek and look at the beers you wanted to order. It was always my favorite kind of setup when it came to beer, because they had not a ton of beer in today's standards, but you're talking about 200 to 300 different beers all in a cooler in front of you. It's such a great way to drink. And like I said, the hits were there. The Cantillons, Dre Fontaines, all the beers that now people covet are there for the taking whenever you wanted to have them. And to sit there and just drink and kind of contemplate and visually go over all the beers in front of you and be like, you know what, let's move on to the next one. And what are we going to have next? Usually drinking with a good friend. And this was always there, and it was just a little bit too expensive, hand to mouth, barely making ends meet back then. It was out of my reach. And I eventually bought it, and I was like, okay, now I know why it costs more. And it was epically fantastic. And those are the things that happen with beer. It's just like much similar to music in that, there's a song that comes on that reminds you of a previous lover or a great time with friends and family, or just that time when you're driving down a road by yourself and in the middle of the night coming home from something, and just kind of, that memory just jumps into your head every time that song comes on. It's very much the same when it comes to beer. So I'm biased when it comes to this beer. Yeah, I'm biased because I always think it's going to be fantastic. You could say that's okay. It's preconceived notion. You're going into the beer review thinking it's going to be great, so therefore it's going to be great. I always kind of argue the other side of that spectrum and say, I think it's going to be great, so I hold it to a higher standard. And if it's less than great, I think it's a little bit more shocking, a little bit more jarring, something that is a little bit more hard to dismiss. And while I'm not going to sit here and say this is the best beer I've ever had, and I'm not going to say it's the best Russian Imperial Stout I've ever had. Again, Struce Black Albert holds that mantle for me. It's fucking great. And the memories it elicits are absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So let me do a couple things here. Pretty much done with the review. I'm going to throw this link out to the American guys, see if anybody wants to jump in real quick. I don't want to hang out and do a long chat after this. I don't want to hang out and do a long chat after this. So I'm up for 20 minutes or so or something like that if anybody wants to join in. Let's see. So we got that going. And then let me chime in and go in a little bit of comments here. We have Rory chiming in with the correction I talked about. Stefan Falk saying that's the best one. It is up there. It is on Mount Rushmore of Russian Imperial Stouts. Pay that, no qualms about that. If I'm going to talk about is this one of the better Russian Imperial Stouts I've had as of late? Yes. Is it on the Mount Rushmore? Yes. It will always be on Mount Rushmore. I will not remove this. This will be a biased beer for me till the day I die, and it will be the best, even if technically one might taste better. Yeah, this is just fantastic. It's great. So Stefan is correct. Or I said, don't mind Wells and Young sticky toffee pudding ale. I don't mind that beer in a kind of like, let me rephrase that. Let me reverse. I don't mind that beverage in a certain mindset. I don't view it kind of as beer. I view it as more of a, this is a goof. It's kind of more like, not your father's root beer to me, more that than actual beer. So it is what it is. Thomas Open chiming in, say I should go into bed, what does that mean? Thomas will be on here for the next 5 hours. Fraser Lowley said, missed the first part of the review. Which brewery is this from? It is now produced by Wells and Young, as Rory would chime in about the sticky toffee pudding. But it used to be made by other people. Let's put it this way. If you have any kind of history with Wells and Young and what they produce, this beer is not what they produce. This is kind of an outlier compared to what they typically produce. And Hatchy Malachi chiming in saying what everybody fucking understands. This is, don't want to go do a long chat. Ends up always being 2 hours. I can't fucking help myself. I got video games to play, man. I get downloaded Squadrons. I did. I downloaded Squadrons. I haven't dived into it yet. I downloaded it last night, but I'm replaying the BioShock series right now. So I'm in the middle of a BioShock 2. I speedrun fucking 1, man. I was surprised how that's one of my favorite games, but I surprised myself this time. I beat it one day. I beat it in a couple of hours. I was like, holy shit. I'm like, I beat this game in like a couple. I never do that shit, and I don't know how I did it. So ripped through BioShock 1, going through 2. I know 2 is not great, but there's something about 2 that I dig. And I'm kind of pumped to dive back in Infinite, because I played it when it originally came out, and since it was such a stark difference from the original BioShock and the second one, I think I might have had a chip on my shoulder about liking it or not, So I'm kind of curious. So yeah, but I really want to dive into Squadron, so we'll see what's what. So hopefully you guys are settling in for an awesome Christmas week. I am super pumped. This is the last Christmas I'll have that I can either get stuff for myself or focus on my wife solely, because we got the little baby bean coming in on March 8th. So it's going to be baby time for the next 18 years, man. I'm going to be 60s when that kid graduates. Yeah. Jesus Christ. I just want to give my wife kind of like one last, like, Christmas is about her kind of thing. She's 7 months pregnant, so she's doing really well, handling it really well. She always thinks she's doing shit wrong, but she's like the best mom already before she's even given birth. How she takes care of herself and what she's focused on and all that kind of stuff. And it's honestly bringing the best out of me. So this is kind of a cool little lull. I always take off a little bit of time. Yeah, I always take a little bit of time towards the end of the year off from work. In the way the holidays kind of fall. Like, my company's like an old school company, so we get off Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. We get off New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. They just kind of slate those as holidays that we typically get off. So the way and if the day off that is slated off falls on a weekend, then they roll that day over to the day before, the day after. So Christmas and New Year's Day are both on Saturdays. So I had short weeks going into the next 2 weeks, so I decided to just save some of my vacation, kind of take a big lump sum of time off from work. So I'm off. I was off. Was pretty much been off since Wednesday of this past week, and I go back on a Wednesday, January 6th, I believe, 6th or 7th. So you're looking at pretty much 3 weeks off from work. And I'm looking forward to it. I have my best of year end of Massive Beer Awards. I'm just going to call it the Massive Beer Awards from now on, because that sounds fancier. on the Sunday. So a week today, you can have massive beer awards. I'm gonna try to do like a hang where I'll have people on afterwards. I'm gonna try to rip through it. I'm not gonna go as crazy as I've done in previous years. Last year's best ofs didn't pull that great of numbers. Not that I really care about those, but because I did some kind of weird thing where I made it like a Festivus kind of thing, and I think it didn't have any beer shit in the title, so I think that's why. So I'm gonna simplify it because I used to go crazy. I used to do like 19 different best malty beers, best sour beers, best fucking IPAs, best you know what I mean, like stouts, and then I do like best shelfies. I do best this, best that. I mean, one year I think I had like 8 or 9 lists. It's gonna keep it simple this year. I think I'm gonna do the top 20 beers of the year. So I'm not gonna do any variants. I'm not gonna do IPAs. I'm not gonna do best 20 beers of the year. And I think I'm going to, well, I'm not, I don't think I know I'm going to do best shelfies. I can't not do best shelfies. I think people would riot and get very, very angry and kind of get really, really, really angry at me if I didn't do shelfies. So that's definitely going to happen. Now it'll be next Sunday, probably early in the day. Be around 2 PM, I'm guessing. That's my assumption. I'll put something up early this week about time. I still have to whittle through my list. I'm about a third of the way of all my beers. And that's the most annoying part is like break. It's not figuring out which ones I like the most. It's making the list so I can pick out which beers I like the most because it's no easy way to do it. I don't know. Maybe I'm not smart enough. Maybe I don't have the correct fucking extension in a browser or something. I don't know. Basically what I do, I don't know how anybody else out there does it, is I basically add all my whole year of beer reviews to a playlist. And what that does is it puts it on a single page, like all the videos that I've done throughout the year. And then I copy and paste them into a notepad. And then I delete all the non-pertinent information manually. And unless I can automate it through like a script or something like that in Excel or in Word or something like that. But a lot of the unique information, like timestamps, all that kind of stuff and things like that. And I manually delete everything and then I throw it in an Excel sheet. And then basically I skim through it. And, I delete certain things off there. Homebrews, obviously not on there, even though I should include it because honestly, there's a couple of homebrew I think are worthy of being on that list, but I try to separate the homebrew stuff from the commercial stuff just for the sake of, I think that's proper. So I remove the homebrew stuff. I remove all mystery beers, which in a perfect world I would include because I think they're one of the more kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Wholesome reviews because there's no pomp to it. But in order for me to actually go back and judge them and put them on a list, I'd have to watch them all. I do 2 a day. 2 every Monday at minimum. 52 weeks in a year. You know what I mean? So if I do a couple extra here and there for a random year, I'm looking at 120, 130 reviews. I'm not watching that many reviews. So I omit mystery beers. Obviously, I omit certain things like beer reviews I did live during unboxings, that kind of shit, because I would have to go through them and whittle it down and basically skim through it and be like, I remember that being awesome. I remember that being awesome. I remember that being awesome. Very scientific here. And then I whittle all that other shit away. And then I go, okay. And then I have a list of whatever it may be, 50 to 100 beers, and try to whittle those down to a shorter list. I'm going to try to keep the list at 20. It'll probably be 20 in honorable mentions because I won't be able to keep it that short. But it should be a fun show. Like I said, I'm going to try to do it on a Sunday. Or I'm definitely doing it on a Sunday. I'm going to try to do it earlier in the day. Probably around 2 PM, I'm guessing. So that way I can get some of the UK guys on, stuff like that. Do the shelfies. That's probably one of the more important ones that I'll do. And then we'll open up to a chat and have a good Sunday kind of post-Christmas hangout and stuff like that for you guys. So should be pretty fun stuff, to be perfectly honest with you. At least I think it is. Yeah. Anyway, what am I looking at here? What else was I going to say? I had something else I was going to say. I got a homebrew beer mail in today, so it's really cool. I got some dog treats with it. So I'll be checking it out. I got a bunch of really old weird beer over the past couple days. Like I got this weird, like 5-year-old Italian 7.5% weird beer here. I got a little bit of a dry hopped fucking Saison DuPont from a couple of years ago with Eureka hops. And I just stopped at this place and had all these random kind of weird old beers on there. And you're gonna be seeing some aged beer. Some good, some bad. But just like this one, I picked this one up at the same place. I was like, 2018 off the shelf, or 2013 off the shelf, 2012, sorry, off the shelf, because I had the 13 that came in a gift pack, so it came with 2 of them off the shelf. That does not suck. So yeah, get back to the comments really quick. Christmas is on a Friday this year. Kyle fucking up my shit. Sorry for being shitty. Anyway, it says, have fun, bro. Always love listening to your rants about your faves. Thank you very much, man. You rave about your faves. Thank you, Thomas. Rory saying you're a good lad. Take care. Have a good Christmas. I'm sure we'll cross each other's paths before Christmas, Rory. Don't do me dirty like that. But I can see you being sad because Arsenal are in the fucking, it's bad. Like we're 4 points out of relegation right now. I don't even know what to fucking do. But it's almost karmic for me because my Miami Dolphins in the NFL have sucked for decades and they're very, very, very close to making the playoffs. So I don't know what to think. Friday this year. And Matt Matoyer says, how do you feel about Dark Lord? I feel like it's overrated and too sweet. I really like Dark Lord. I really do. And here's the caveat with Dark Lord too that you have to understand. It is sweet. I think the last time I reviewed it, I might have reviewed a mystery Dark Lord, maybe, but I reviewed it not too long ago. It is very sweet, but it does age in a specific way, and the way it ages in a specific way is soy saucy. A lot of people talk about the soy sauce thing with Dark Lord, especially with a little bit of time on it. I like soy sauce. It's actually like one of my, not say favorite, but it's a flavor profile I dig. Big, huge, burly beers to age into. Sam Adams Triple Bock is notorious for that. I love that beer to no end. So I really like that beer. I really, really enjoy Dark Lord. Is it overrated? Probably. Only because it was kind of like one of the OG super ridiculous whales. I mean, it's lost its luster over the years. You could pretty much get it if you really try now. So it's not like, I saw fucking Morning Delight on draft the other day. I could have drove and got it. So a lot of the beers, the old school beers that people fucking freak out over can be had. So it's been knocked down a peg or two, but something can be overrated, but still really, really good. So that's kind of where I put Dark Lord. I think it's really good. I think it's really fun. I think a lot of the variants are kind of fucked. Like it's not consistent enough to be amazing, but I think when it's on, it's up there as some of the better beers. Yeah. Hachi Malachi chiming in saying you're a good guy, Matt. Thank you very much. Congrats on a baby to be. And enjoy the last Christmas pre-mini Matt as much as you can. I know. We'll see. It's gonna be a fun Christmas though. I got a great family. I'm a very, very lucky guy. Let's put it that way. If you do the best, it would be funny to do the worst. It would be. It would be really fun to do the worst beers I've had. I just don't want to do it. I mean, that's too much work. I think I did. One year I might have did the shit, like the shittiest beers I had of the year. I don't know if I did that one year, but I don't want to put that much effort. I don't want to put that much effort in. I'm trying to streamline all this shit to be as least amount of effort as humanly possible. Hence, I used to pre-record my best ofs, and I used to do like graphics and layovers and all kinds of crazy shit on a video and make them look all fancy. Fuck that noise. I am doing everything live, off the cuff, no script. Get it the fuck done. The only script I have is the list of beers. That's the only thing I'm going to really focus on. So yeah, it's just too much work, honestly. If I, and that's the thing, I'm never going to get paid to do this, like real paid. But if you want to pay me fucking $120,000 a year to do it, then I'll do it. Then I'll go through and watch the reviews over again and make a correct list. But if you're not paying me like real money to live on this shit, then I'm just not putting the effort in. And my memory sucks, so Good luck with everything. And Fraser says, cheers. I'll try to get myself some. Good luck with everything for the new year. Continue the great reviews, mate. Merry Christmas from the UK. Merry Christmas to you too, brother. So there you go. I think we're going to cut this off. No one's biting on the live hang stuff, which is fine by me. Like I said, I got some video games to play. And these 10% beers hit quicker as you get older. So this is fun. A cool little sidebar chat. A little bit of Russian Imperial Stout up in this piece. I think we're done and done. So before I leave, plug a couple things. One, go check out my buddy Ben, who does the armchair testosterone, that video thing that I've been doing over the past 24 hours. Is me fucking with us fucking with each other, but you guys, bulk of you guys thought we were serious. Go check him out. Super good dude. Number two, if you look in this chat, you'll see a person by the name of Thomas Opent. He's part of the Dutch Beer Collective. He will be doing a live broadcast on Christmas Eve of all days. Kind of hangout, everybody hanging out, have a good time, and doing a bunch of beer stuff. Come join. I will be there. I know a bunch of my beer tubing brethren will be there. And that would be him right here. Go check him out. So on Christmas Eve, I think it's probably going to be earlier in the day, 2 o'clock or something like that. Christmas Eve, he's going to do a live stream. I'm definitely going to be there for, maybe not for the long haul, the complete haul, but it'll definitely be hanging for quite a bit. And go check him out and all the other guys at Dutch Beer Collective. They do a lot of English reviews. So if you were English based, if you don't understand Dutch, you can still get a lot of stuff out of the stuff they do. And honestly, I'm gonna let you know a little secret. Watching other people do beer reviews in a foreign language and reading the subtitles is like on the sly one of the funnest things to do in beer tubing, because some of the words that Google, YouTube generates is pretty fucking hysterical. So that's worth it in and of itself. And then 3, thing I already mentioned, which was we're going to do my best of awards on the 27th, which is a Sunday. I hope I'm right on it. I am. Holy shit, I'm actually correct. So a week from now, like I said, I'm going to try to bust them out earlier in the day, probably more like 2 o'clock, like when Thomas is going to do his, maybe a little bit later, but you'll see a post up in this coming week leading up to that, and a little bit of promo stuff on Instagram and all that kind of fun stuff. So there you go. So hopefully you guys have a great week. Hopefully you join us all on Thomas's channel for his Christmas Eve kind of hang. There's going to be a bunch of awesome people on there. Hopefully you join us for my best of Massa Beer Awards on Sunday come today. Hopefully you guys are doing awesome. Drink good beer. Yeah. Hope to see you next time.